Amy, if you would please come up.
No.
And Amy, starting out, talk about your budget.
Okay, well, pardon me, this is really my first time to be here, so I don't know what is expected of me. And I did forget my budget over there, so.
It's okay.
Let me grab that.
There, I think one of the deputies has it for you.
Thank you. As I said, pardon me, this is just a learning process for me. So as I was given this to go through and make the budget up for 2019, I looked at the things that we weren't using and where we were already almost to the end of the budget of the amount of the money, and moved those things around to make it all work out for the next year. There are some things we weren't using, but our main thing right now is the medicines for the, and that should be animal medical supplies. We added more money to that, and again, I don't know what questions y'all might have for me on this.
Or any other areas in that particular category? It looks like that the animal medical supplies is the one that you've increased, and that's due to?
That is our euthanasia fluid, that's our vaccinations and wormer, even our flea preventative in that area. Now that through the next couple of years could definitely go up as different laws. The health department will require different things for the shelter to do to get an animal ready to go with somebody to be adopted or to just be housed at a shelter.
The previous year of 17 had spent 11,000 in 17. No, excuse me, 18. I'm sorry,
yes.
18. 18 was an $11,000 year. Was it that we thought that these would be lower, that we revised, that we adopted a budget at 6,000 in 19, and it's proving out that that is very much underfunded?
Yes, sir, it is.
And it looks like actually the current burn rate for this year, we're already sitting at 7,200, and we're requesting 82 for next year.
Correct.
It looks like that is an underestimate with the 82.
And it probably is because I have different not contracts, but different agreements with different pharmaceutical companies. If we buy so many, then it will keep the price down. But as I have found through my experience at a shelter, that the ones that are cheaper are not always the best to keep the diseases down at the shelter.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that's why the price is up high and it's already used up.
Okay, so the 8,200 that is being proposed is what I'm saying is that just looking from the burn rate and what you've just said, it looks to me closer that the 11,000, 12,000 mark is the more appropriate number in that.
Yes, sir, I would believe.
And this is your vaccinations, your wormer, and any of the other restricted.
Flea preventative, stomach issue medicines, and
Right.
just the worming is a big cost right there.
But none of this is associated with any vets?
No, sir,
vet
it's
expenses,
not.
It's just purely on the
That's
facility?
strictly what we buy to administer at the shelter.
Okay. On the food services,
Yes, sir.
yourself and I had a discussion about that. We look across, and when one looks at the $1,743 that was spent in 2018 compared to the $1,000 that is spent year to date, there are some changes that are happening.
Okay,
Can you
so,
speak to that?
yes, sir. The Henderson County Humane Society they have donations did have donations from the main distribution center in Palestine. And at least once every 3 months, they would go and pick up 2 to 3 pallets of food. That'd be broken bags, dented cans, something that they could not sell at their stores. So the Humane Society would go pick that up, bring the trailer to us. We would be able to take off that trailer as a donation of what they would like to, what we could use at the shelter. And then they would take the rest back and distribute among Meals on Wheels, so forth. Since April, that has totally stopped. So now all that we're receiving from them is the broken bags or dented cans and cleaning supplies from the Walmart store here in Athens, which has really decreased a whole bunch in the past month and a half. So we never know what they're going to get. I do know that Walmart had a big loss of this past year, and so they're really looking to strap down their employees so they won't have so much damage. So I think that our food costs could go up quite considerably.
And given the fact that we have utilized Walmart and those donations, or
Yes,
shall I
sir.
say the Humane Society that has been able to gather those up and make donations, we do not really have a good feel on what the overall food service costs will be for the shelter
We
yet.
do not, because the only thing that we're purchasing now is rice and canned dog food, and sometimes specialty food for puppies and kittens.
Okay.
The Humane Society,
Yes, sir.
why did they stop? Are you saying that the grocery stores quit participating with the Humane Society? Or
No.
do we have a relationship with the Humane Society that has fallen to the wayside?
The relationship's still there, a good relationship with them. It's just that the manufacturers of the food have asked for the food from the warehouse in Palestine to be sent back instead of donating it to nonprofits. So that
This
is,
is the Walmart warehouse?
yes, sir, in Palestine.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
So we still are getting the occasional bag or occasional cans of food from the Walmart here in Athens. Right now, the main thing that we're getting from them is cleaning supplies, just soaps, laundry detergents.
I understand. So, I mean, from a donational standpoint, has the Humane Society ever thought about talking with Brookshires?
I don't know the answer to that.
Well, Brookshires sells dog food.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
I will check with them and ask them to do that.
I would ask them to talk with every feed store in Athens.
Correct?
Southside Feed, they sell dog food.
Yes, sir.
Tractor Supply sells dog food. You can build on the list as easy as I can. But anyone that sells dog food,
Correct.
they have a broken bag every once in a while.
I know that the Humane Society would get maybe once or twice a year things from Tractor Supply, and that was just very sparse. I don't know if they've changed their protocol for their broken bags, but I will check into asking them about that.
Well, you might want to take this along with you. There was someone in this morning talking about shopping local. You can tell these folks at these places donate local.
Okay.
So,
Thank
you know, at least the local Tractor Supply should be willing to support Henderson County
Yes.
Animal Shelter with anything like that, because they sell a lot of canned dog food as well,
Correct.
and cat food.
Any other discussion on the food?
Are there certain kinds of food that you don't feed the animals?
We don't feed them anything that's bright colored food because the dyes usually make them, unfortunately, just to be honest, have diarrhea. But that's why also I use the rice. Through the years, I've gone to several different seminars with a lady who only does, a veterinarian who only does shelter medicine, Jerry Hall, and she has explained to me that if you start with the rice and you give them a certain percentage of the rice when they first come in, a stray animal, that will help protect their gut and to get rid of whatever trash is in that gut and help them to be healthier and less worming and all kinds of stuff. You wouldn't believe what comes with the stray animals to our shelter. And then we just continue that every day with feeding. We take probably about 3 cups of rice and canned dog food, mix that together, and they get a serving on top of their food with that, their dry food.
Any other questions on that? Moving down, have the item of non-capital equipment. I know that there were some needs that were discussed concerning some gates on some pens, and then there's actually in another area where some actual complete cages were going to have to be changed out. Can you speak to those?
Okay, well, where the cages will have to be completely changed out. Back in 2007, when the Humane Society had the pavilion, what we call the Animal Control Pavilion, built, they purchased some 8x10 kennels. They're freestanding. They can be moved around with ease for cleaning. And throughout the years, with just the corrosive materials, even just soap and water that we use to clean those kennels, they are rusting. They've been repaired. If we had a dangerous dog in there, they, at this time, probably would not hold a dog that really wants to get out. I have checked with different prices through Tractor Supply, and McCoy's is where those were purchased. And of course, they're not making that quality of a kennel anymore. They wouldn't stand up to what we need at this time. They'd be destroyed in just a little bit of time. The health department looks at those kennels and make sure that those don't have any wires that would poke the animals, where we could keep them contained safely and all of that. And that's one of the things that they look at when they are inspecting us 2 times a year. As I talked to the judge last week, another thing that we would need to be repaired, which I find is our greatest need right now, is in the kennel area, we are approved to hold 4 quarantines. We have 4 quarantine kennels, and those gates are corroded, patched throughout the years, and we are still patching them just to keep dogs safely in there that are dangerous dogs we're holding for court cases or a quarantine dog. Now, not everybody's going to try to get after us or get out of there, and we even keep those chained with padlocks at the end of the day. But just for protection of people coming through the shelter and of my people, and doing what is required with the health department. I believe that these gates that were specially made when the shelter was built need to be replaced. And that would be 12 gates.
Now, are these the same locations that we had, and I'm going to call them tenants?
Yes.
We had, not we, but in the previous entity, held some tenants for us for a great long period of time. There were 3 of them, I believe. Were those held in these locations that we're talking about here of repair, or are they in a different set of pens?
For about a month or 2, they were held there until they were actually declared dangerous dogs and we were going through the appeals process. That's when one of the board members for the Humane Society that is a builder, he bought heavy gauged wire and built the 3 what we call pit pavilion kennels.
Okay.
And those have reinforcements.
Okay. I was just wanting to find where these pens set as far as what they're used for.
Those are away from the majority of the kennels. We use this when we have a really dangerous dog. I have checked with the health department to use those for quarantine, and they say that we cannot use those.
Okay.
For the quarantine, I'm sorry.
For the quarantine?
Yes.
But there's still some
We still do use them.
for the primary purpose of those, not as quarantine?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So the dangerous dog kennels cannot be used for quarantine?
That's correct, because they're not enclosed and they don't want raccoons and skunks and all that getting into that area.
If we don't have dangerous dogs, can the dangerous dog pens be used for other dogs?
Oh, definitely. Yes, we use those quite often.
Okay.
How many of these kennels do you need?
On the pavilion, our main animal control pavilion right now, we have 8. They're 8 by 10, and we cover them with chicken wire so they won't be able to climb out. So we would need 8 in there, and then we would need 12 gates made specially for the quarantine cages, the 4 quarantines.
Have you spoken with Smith County's animal shelter to see where they procure their shelters?
I have not.
Cages
With Sean Markham, I have not, but he's always somebody I could reach out to. I personally have not visited that shelter. I was told by other ladies that those are more freestanding indoor kennels. I really think that we need something that would hold up to more of the weather outside, but I will go in and check with him on those kennels.
Emery, you might want to have Jennifer do some research. And there's direct animal products that have extreme kennels for outside, inside use. Get some vendors who can supply. I mean, in essence, and I'm asking you to look into this because this is basically the same thing we do all the time out of the fair park. You know, the horses urinate on the stalls, the bottom portion of the stalls start to rust, and then we worry about $50,000 or $100,000 horse getting their leg cut on a rusted out stall. And we certainly can't fix those stalls at the fair park with chicken wire. So let's get the real price as what it's going to cost to run this operation rather than with baling wire and duct tape. We may have to use that, but at least let's get the costs out there so the court understands what we have to look forward to going forward. I'm just not a big fan of duct tape and baling wire.
No,
It's hard to find baling wire anymore.
It is.
Is the pavilion you're speaking of on the west side of the property there?
Yes, sir.
Where they bring the animals in?
Yes, sir.
Animal control brings them in, those kennels right there?
Yes, sir.
Is a 8 by 10 a good size, or a smaller one would work? And you could have more kennels there, or? I mean, I got kennels at my house, and my kennels are 5 by 10.
For the 8 that are there, they need to be 8 by 10 to fit on there, not any bigger. But we could always use some smaller ones. Probably not too much smaller because we do have a dog house in there and we want room for them to move around and to urinate and everything as they need to. And that also goes with the drainage system that we have. So that size works really well. And I have also talked with Mike in maintenance about possibly putting some kennels in another area, some smaller kennels. And that actually goes along our, what I call the pit pavilion. There's probably room for about 2 or 3 more kennels in that area if we needed to expand, if we had to make our kennels smaller on the pavilion.
I guess along that same questioning I have, and we have our animal control officers here with us as well. Is 8 animal control kennels enough? Is that covering our need? That's why I go back to what your discussion was. If they were smaller, you may be able to get more under the pavilion.
Most of the animals that are brought in, and I think y'all might be able to tell them more. Most of the animals that we have that are brought in are bigger dogs, and it's just a general rule that if you have a dog, especially pit bull mixes, you don't put them in the same kennel. Because then it's awful to try to have to break something up.
Well,
So,
are we finding ourselves with not enough kennels for the animal control officers?
how do y'all feel?
At times.
Do we
How
have to?
many, you're saying you have 8 under that pavilion?
Yes, sir.
And what we're asking is 8 enough?
8. In the summer months, no. In the summer months and the spring months, no. It would be nice to have 5 more kennels. Because sometimes when they come in the evening, they might call me and ask me, where can this dog go? And we'll have to, before we leave, we make sure we have empty kennels for them to be able to use. So more would be very appreciated.
Well, for it to be under the same pavilion, if you had 5 8 by 10s.
5 more?
No,
Oh.
5
Yes, sir.
5 new ones, whatever, to fix the ones you got. And then we had 5 or 6 of the 5 by 10s. Do all of them need to be 8 by 10?
No, sir, they don't.
I mean,
Yeah.
that could increase a number under there.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Cause I know a lot of the dogs are big, but they gotta be some little old schnauzers and stuff.
Yeah. And we usually have places for them to be. If it's a little dog that hasn't been outside, we put those indoors. But yes.
I'm just trying to figure out, how to, if we need a few more pens, how we could get them under that same pavilion.
I would have to figure out the measurements to have those on there. We do have fans that keep the dogs cooler in the summer months, misters and so forth. But yes, I do think if we do some smaller, a mixture of sizes, it would be helpful.
Just to be sure, right now, is there any room to add any more kennels other than the 8 we have under the pavilion?
There's probably room to add 2 more.
2 more,
Uh-huh.
and that's at the current size that we're talking about, the 8 by 10.
Yes, and that would be going from a different opening. We have to figure the opening and how they could get the dog in there with ease, because sometimes they might have them in a trap and so forth, and they're taking that trap up into the area.
Officers, do you want to fill us in a little bit on what your experience is with using a larger cage, smaller cage, kennel that we're talking about here? You can give us some input so we better understand what the need might be.
I personally think a 5 by 10 would be plenty big to have a doghouse in it and the dog can walk around. I know they exercise their dogs, you know, on a daily basis and let them out, you know, to the pavilion area itself, you know. That being said, doing 5x10s all the way would allow for more pens up there. Yes.
We could almost feasibly add 5 if we replaced all, just by quick pulling the numbers here. Knocking 3 foot off of each of the, because they said 8x10 is
Yes,
currently
sir.
there, you're down to 5x10, that's 3 foot a cage. So 8 cages, there's 4 more. You know, cutting those down to 5, that gains you 4, and you said there's room for 2 more on the pavilion.
Yes, sir.
So there would be an additional 6. That would be replacing 8 and adding 6 to the count, giving you 14. That's maximizing using the space from our discussion here.
Sure.
You know, it's all,
Does each of those 8x10 pens, each one of them have their own drain?
They do not. It's a drain
At
along the back
You just wash
side.
it all to the back?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that wouldn't affect that then?
No, sir.
And I know those misting systems are fairly easy to get a hold of, and, I mean, they sell them everywhere. So we could add on to the misting system pretty easy.
Oh, yes.
We might have to add a couple of fans in there. But,
I mean, do you have any overflow kennels that's
Yes, sir, we do.
outside?
We do, sir, yes. So the health department has told us throughout the years that until the dog actually becomes ours, a property of the shelter, that they don't need to be in the dirt. They want them on concrete. So right now we have 4 dirt kennels that we use when the dog is actually ours, while we are assessing the dog or waiting for space to move it up front. So after that 73 hours goes by, we do use the dirt kennels.
But I mean, you can buy kennels that have floors in them that can be utilized outside.
Yes, sir.
And the question was, do you have any of those? I mean,
We do not.
and you do have space that you could have overflow kennels outside.
Yes, sir.
And if they had floors, you could put them in there, whether it's outside the 72-hour period.
Yes, sir.
Because, I mean, you know, you can buy those 6x6, 6x8, 8x8, and the price ranges from $7.95 to $9.28 a piece. So, you know, I mean, buy 6 or 8 of those and stick them outside and you got overflow. And as I said, I mean, this particular, you can even raise these up and have the floor in there so if they're not on the dirt, and this comes with a canopy top on it. This is caninekennelstore.com.
if we went to the 5x10 pen, we got a potential of putting 14 under the pavilion. And
Yes, sir.
3 more over there in that.
The pit pavilion
Pit
area?
pavilion.
Yes, sir.
So you got the potential of having 17 pens.
Absolutely.
I don't think you'd need more than that, would you? Y'all hadn't went over that?
Hopefully not.
I mean, there's a potential, so maybe we need to look what it costs to get 17 heavy-duty dog kennels, 5x10.
5 by 10.
there are a few other items here as we look. Your office supply line item was set at 900, and that is nearly expended. Looks like in 18, it was 1,945. Office supplies being papers, pens, so forth, looks like that number's a little light.
I guess I'm not looking at that correctly. So it looks like it was budgeted for 980 for this year.
900 is what we have for
Oh.
office supplies.
Okay, yes, sir. I have a pen marked through that.
And as of to date, spent 785.
And I have talked with them about what's being put underneath certain items have been put underneath certain things. Because the only thing that we're buying from there is paper and pens and tape. So it shouldn't be that high. Unless our copier lease, which I thought our copier lease was underneath something else.
They don't have a copier lease that's
We don't?
Turner and
Okay.
it's the print management system and all that gets charged to office supplies.
Okay, so okay, but that is going to be okay, so that one is going to have some additional funding to it, especially if it's on the print program. That's been the most efficient way we've been able to bring those under, correct? That don't have a freestanding Xerox machine.
No.
Okay. What are your program supplies?
Looks like we used 160, I'm asking for 300 on that, and it was at 150. Again, I'm sorry, I have so many notes on here. One moment, please.
And the reason we ask is that from what we have, the adopted budget was originally 300, and
Yes,
to date
sir.
we've spent 327.
Those were for like offsite adoptions and so forth. Is what we were using that for our different packages to go with the dogs. Not being anything frilly or anything, but certain things that actually gets the dog more adopted.
Okay. And
On offsite adoptions.
outside adoptions, and that leads it, so that is when you say programs, that's the outside adoption events? That's
Yes,
your
sir.
program?
Yes, sir.
And we had discussed that last year about those programs. How is that working? How many have you been able to do?
Well, we've had several of them scheduled, and I still have several more of them scheduled, of ones that we have done in the past for different, like the Arboretum and so forth. I had One Ring Network, which was wonderful. They did an adoption event where they ended up paying all the adoption fees. Nobody knew that when they were coming to look at the dogs or anything, so they totally covered that cost. Scheduled 3 other times now, I believe, to have an adoption with them, adoption event in the Office Depot parking lot, and it has been rained out during those times.
Okay.
But I do have,
Did you hear that word?
I brought it. Blame it on me. I love it.
but we have one with the Arboretum, which is a good adoption event. I've spoken with you. I have an idea of actually having calling in and working with the Cedar Creek Shelter to having like a big adopt-a-thon, maybe. I don't know if it'd be possible to have that at the fairgrounds and invite anybody else in the county that has anything to do with animals, even feed stores, the vets, to have tables or a booth there. And I think it's just showing everybody doing that we're ready to work together and to really work on these animals and to get them adopted. I've been to several through the years in Tyler, where they've been a great success.
In that program supply line item, since we really don't have a history on it, and the current run is over what we had budgeted, what are you thinking that should be.
I actually think we should keep it we should have it at the 300. Most of the supplies that I purchased for the adoption events, I had to purchase in bulk, and I have a surplus of those.
Oh, so you don't foresee any more purchases for those?
Not unless we do
Okay.
like something big like this, have an adoption event, a big adoption event, with the other shelter and other animal people.
So the $327 that you've currently spent covered the expense you anticipated for the
Yes, sir.
rained out events?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any questions on those? I'm saving one for the last. I was wanting to run through these before we address the part-time situation and overtime there.
You have a vehicle,
Yes, sir.
and you've only spent $23.92 on fuel?
We don't use it very much. We only use it to maybe go to Morton's or so forth.
Not to speak the
Yes.
obvious. Yeah. If I could only get my wife to only spend
Wouldn't that be
$23.92
nice?
on fuel through 6 months of the year, I would be one happy camper. Well, then why do you think you need to have $400 for tires?
Again, I'm not looking at the same thing y'all are looking at. I'm sorry. I apologize. Like I said, this is new to me, sir.
Okay.
I did our air conditioner in that vehicle. When I did fuel, I should have thought more like vehicle maintenance. Our air conditioning unit in that vehicle is not working. So when we're taking animals to and from surgeries, we're having to be real careful not to get them too hot and so forth.
Well, you have $350 in there,
Yes, sir.
but your wheel sensors are okay? I'm sorry, that was a joke from yesterday.
We don't move backwards, Commissioner.
Sorry, Judge. Couldn't help myself.
Well, I will tell you, I had the air conditioner looked at for a quote last year, and it came back working. When I took it in for a quote to get it fixed, but it only worked for a little bit of the time.
If memory serves, this is the old, what do they call them?
It's a Dodge, mate. It used to be the original K9 vehicle.
We call it the Beast.
Years ago.
It's got a big Hemi in it.
Get there quick.
Very quick.
That is a valid point you bring up. There is no vehicle maintenance line in that budget.
There is some? Yeah, there is.
$350.
$350 in it. It's down under employee exams.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh,
I
it
was
sure
in the
is.
upper one. Okay. Okay. Apologies. Business and travel, conference and education.
This is an employment exam, $1,000.
Drug testing. Drug testing.
I believe, given our earlier discussions that we've had concerning personnel policy, that we're going to be addressing some of that.
What are those tests costing us?
Well, Woody had said, I've given us that number 15. After I researched it, it's actually going to cost us $47 per employee.
For drug
For
testing.
drug testing only. If you wanted to continue with what is in our policy now, which is the drug testing and a physical, it would probably be $150 per employee.
150 per new hire.
It's per time.
Okay.
But that's continuing on with drug testing? Or is that just for one?
That's continuing on.
That's continuing service.
That's with our current contract that we have now. With the CDL, we are actually included in a non-DOT drug testing service as well.
So what is, we have a one-time, what is our one-time, we're hiring somebody once, we're gonna drug test them once and physical them once, what's it gonna cost us? $150?
Per person.
Non-DOT?
Non-DOT, yes.
Okay. Yes, sir, Sheriff?
With it not being a DOT thing, I think, our nurses collect the sample on Fridays. Our doctor is over there, and we get a physical done by our doctor on Friday. We get the urine analysis done for $15. I don't know why. If the county's good with it, y'all shoot them through the sheriff's office, and we'll do the drug screenings and physicals over there. We got $15 instead of $150.
I was told that we weren't allowed to do that, just by what I was told.
Well, we tried that with we did try this with, we looked at it with the DOT stuff,
Right.
but we didn't have a scientific way of doing the
Random
annual
selection.
random selection. I don't know what the difference, and there may be some HR rules.
No.
It's in federal rule.
We were, it's in
Yeah.
federal rules. It was just that, Michael had already asked you, so he said you could ask again, but he's probably going to tell you here. So,
But that was on the DOT, on just
that was DOT.
on just a new hire, we could filter them through you.
A non-DOT you can handle.
I don't have a problem
Right.
with it as long as I'm not breaking any HR rules that I
Right.
know about.
Any HIPAA rules.
Right.
This again, this is a continuing discussion across the department lines, is how we got here from their employment exam there. We need to continue to flesh that out, because if it does work, we can remove this line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it should work for everyone but Road and Bridge,
Right.
which has the different requirement for DOTs.
So when the $15 one, is that Monday through Friday? There are
Yes,
certain
sir.
days?
What we do is, the doctor needs the results on Friday when he does his
Yeah.
physicals. And we usually get, if we send somebody in on Monday, we usually have the results on Tuesday. So we usually try to do the drug screening through our nurses from Monday to Wednesday. That way on Thursday, we have all of our results. And then on Friday, when the doctor's there, the results are given to the doctor. He does the physical, and they're gone.
So on a new hire, they would have to come to you, to your office down there, on Monday through Wednesday.
One time Monday through Wednesday,
And then on Friday, they come back for their physical.
Yes, sir. And that's how we do everybody that's hired at the sheriff's office.
And how much is your physical costing?
$0. He works for Southern Health Partners, and they want to keep a good working relationship with us.
So the $15 just for the,
That's
Just
everything, that's physical and drug screening.
And that's collection fee?
That's everything.
Okay.
And you have the way to bill it back to the department?
Yeah. Basically, we send it off, they send email results back to us, showing us the results, we give those results to the doctors, and then we could take those results and take them straight to, or email them straight to, payroll.
Sounds like we have a winner.
And she could apply them to whatever department they came from.
Yes.
And you've got, you don't have no qualms about doing that.
No, they do them all the time.
with you. Not just the employees.
To fill some jailer vacancy, since they're being examined in cell block 2. I didn't know if David was going to be administering that or not, and he would take them back to see if they'd be interested in becoming jailers while they were there. Possible recruiting opportunity for you, David.
Lynn, will you
Hear
be
that.
sure and note some of this so that as we, in the next couple of months, that we really get this fleshed out?
It sounds like it's not going to be a financial impact to
Right.
follow the personnel manual as it's currently
Right.
written.
employees' exams, that price should go way down.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. The big item that is glaring here is we've grown to understand this beast that we call the animal shelter. Currently, we're almost $9,000 over budget on part-time. And the previous year, 18, we ran 24,000 for the whole year. There's a drastic change that has happened, and we need to discuss what has brought that on, because we're definitely not expecting this.
Exactly. Let me get my thoughts together on this. Again,
Understood.
I apologize. This is all pretty much new to me, so this is a learning experience for me. When I was asked by you why this was so high, I was explaining that when I have people off work, that it's not something we just put aside. So I'm having to call in my other people to take that position so we can get the work done. And that was usually my part-timers that I was calling in to do that, or when somebody went on vacations, because I have a set schedule. You know, this person works this position, and that's an all-day position. It's not something we can just put aside and go on. We have the help of the trustees. That helps definitely lift the burden. We get 3 to 4 trustees Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But that's not where they can still handle the animals and do what's required. I keep them guarded away from the animals, because I was told, and I tell my people all the time, don't get one of them bit. So they can't be hands-on. But what I was explaining is, even if somebody goes on vacation, I had one going for vacation for 2 weeks, I still had to have somebody work that position. Or we just wouldn't get it done. These are, of course, everybody knows, living, breathing creatures. Had to be cleaned every day. On weekends, I run on a staff that's very minimum, where we have the cleaning protocol down to where it's easier. Only a few can do that. But when we're open to the public, we never know what's coming into us. So that's why I have to have those people there at all times. I'm even part of the working crew that's scheduled to work and work in one of the different positions around the shelter.
You've presented us here with numbers, and I'm only referencing that. Has there been a change in the numbers? Because it's a pretty drastic increase on the part-time help.
Yes.
And what do you think is driving that compared to last year? 18, was it a full budget year? Was 18 a full budget year?
Yeah.
Well, I do know that last year I had trouble hiring my part-time people because of what the job is and what you have to do for the job. I didn't have people that wanted to stay there and to do it's a nasty job. I've been doing it for years. I know that, and I tell them that when they come in. So.
Sound familiar, Sheriff?
So I didn't use last year I didn't have my part-time positions filled all throughout the year. Matter of fact, it was a hard time to get even my full-times permanently filled. But my full-times were good, but the part-times, it was a touch and go there for a while.
How many part-timers do you have?
Right now I have 3.
How many are you budgeted for?
2.
They gonna go,
And full-time?
And what do you
I
pay?
have-
What do you pay the part-time?
$9.50.
$9.50.
Yes, sir.
that's a 24,000 last year to, this is only into, not even through the 6th month. We're gonna look at nearly 30,000 already, so by the end of the year, you're looking at 60.
So one of my part-timers, I was told I could hire. She's seasonal work. She worked last summer also. She'll be leaving. She's only working the summer months. And that's the spring and the summer are our busiest times. So she's taking a burden off right now, working those summer months for us.
And how many full-time did you say you had?
5.
5?
We all work part-time employees, some of us in Road and Bridge, but I think what I would like to know is that you can't, there's no way that the 5 permanent employees could take the slack whenever somebody's on vacation?
I have had them do that, but most of them with the nature of the job, and I'm not complaining whatsoever being a physical job because it's physical demanding, they want their time off. I have a few, maybe 2, that will step up, that will fill in. But everybody there is just pretty much, I mean, they're great employees, but they're wanting to have their days off.
Which has led to an additional issue. We have individuals there that are already maxing out at their maximum on comp time as well. I just found that out yesterday.
Well, I can understand the Saturdays and Sundays,
Right.
to have part-time, or whatever, however you do that, to have part-time come in on Saturdays and Sundays, because if they worked all week, they don't want to work Saturday and Sunday.
And I make it fair to
But
everybody.
I'm just during the week, I mean, 60,000, I mean, you could add another employee if you needed somebody, for $60,000. We're paying part-time 60,000. We could get one more full-time cheaper than that, and still have a part-time.
You have that number of part-timers. Will one full-time employee fill the gap that those 4 part-time are doing?
The 3 part-timers? The way I have it right now, everybody gets their time off, and it's a well thought out system to have it. The way I have it now, I'd hate to lose my part-timers. If the trustees continue to work like they are now, then I could see that happening with changing 2 part-timers to a full-timer. Is that answering your question? Or are you thinking more than my three part-timers to 1 full-timer?
Just looking for
Yeah.
suggestions, because
Right.
we have we have a manpower issue.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just thinking, you got a kennel attendant, 1, $22,000. Plus the 15 for benefits and insurance, or 16, you're looking at 39, let's say $39,000. Well, we still have $21,000 left over from the 60 that we could hire a couple more. You could keep 2 part-timers,
Yes, sir.
and we could add a full-time and still be cheaper than the 60 we're spending on part-time right now.
I will tell you this, Commissioner McCann, the greatest need for my additional part-timer that I have right now is the spring and the summer, because of the more litters being born and so forth. If that helps figure things there. Of course, when I was Humane Society, I had the luxury of having somebody there that would work all the time that didn't want to leave.
And it is a different circumstances.
Oh,
It really is.
definitely, yes.
Because we budgeted for 2 employees, 25 hours a week is what the part-time budget was set for. So, it's like I said,
They're working 2 part-time employees, what, are they working 50 hours a week? Because we're
Can't.
doubled right now.
Can't work 50 hours a week.
They're working 24 hours a week, my 2 part-timers. My 3 part-timers, I'm sorry, I have that seasonal person.
Well, I mean, that's where you're getting the extra money at, is that other person that's not in the budget.
there was a time where the part-timers were working more
Yes,
than what was allotted.
Because she said she's budgeted for 2 workers and she's got 3 part-timers.
That is also in there, but what originally started this increase in part-time spending is that part-time employees were working more than the 25 hours
Right.
that they were limited to.
and that's been corrected.
As the director of the animal shelter, have you looked at contract labor?
No, sir, I have not.
Well, you know, I just have this silly philosophy that if when we're paying the number you threw out, I think what did you say, 21,000 or something like that, 22,000? When we're paying that kind of salary, but bear in mind, it's costing the county taxpayer $17,000 for a benefit package. Whenever the salary is almost the same as the benefit package, it's time to contract it.
But I'm sure that Haley could explain more of the definition of contract labor. I mean, we can't control them, we can't tell them their hours to work, they have to bring their own supplies. Right? So, I mean, we can't just call them contract labor unless they meet the definition of contract labor by the Department of Labor. So you'd have to find a business that does this and services other shelters.
And maybe maybe you're right.
I just don't know if there's a business out there that sits on the side.
Contract labor firms that provide, to construction contractors, guys that dig a ditch.
Right.
I'm sure there's ones out there that will clean out a cow barn.
How many volunteers do you have that come in and help out a week?
I have 4 that come in that I know I can rely on coming in every week. 2 people that answer the phones so we could be doing our work, and then a mother and a daughter that come in and pitch in wherever's needed. But 4 for sure that I could count on. And just like with the trustees, I don't allow them to, there's certain animals that they handle, but I don't allow them to get the dogs inside and outside the yards during feeding time where they could possibly be in danger of getting bit or hurt. I just had a worker just going into the kennel to pick up a dog bowl and she was bit on the leg.
Have you, you have a Facebook page?
Yes, sir.
And have you put out there that you need volunteers to help out with certain things?
I have not put out there but we do have ladies that come in and that want to volunteer and that have come in to volunteer and they realize that that's not what they think the job is. I've had several come and go because of that.
So what does a person do that volunteers besides answer the phone?
They do dishes, laundry, they'll guide somebody to the back to show them dogs. I leave it up to them what they want to do. I have a volunteer application that asks what they would like to do. Some of them want to just sit in the cat room and socialize the cats. Some of them want to just get down and do the dirty work, walk dogs. There's a lot of different things that they'd like to do. And I leave that up to them. my volunteer application, it asks that, and it also asks what times that they can be there. And I get some really good volunteers out of that. But it's kind of come and go as when they might be there, even though I asked them to commit at least a full month.
So, you stated a while ago in the first, and I'm trying to, did the shelter used to be called something else before, and then when the county took it over, it was called the Henderson County?
Correct. Yes, it was the Henderson County Humane Society, and I worked for them.
Okay. It was called the Henderson County Humane Society,
Yes, sir.
and now it's called the Henderson County Humane Society?
No, sir.
What is it called?
Henderson County Animal Shelter.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm just trying to put two and two together as how the one in 7 Points operates to the way that this one operates, and they have a lot of volunteers over there to help.
Well, if I could touch on a subject that's sensitive to me, with some different things that happened last year, we're working to build our reputation back up. It's slowly happening, but we're doing it through Facebook, and just outreach and just people word of mouth. I think, some people that, because of what had happened last year with, included the lawsuit and other things that were put out there on social media that are still being put out there, a lot of people just don't want to come to our shelter, which is really sad because I think we do great. But it's just...
On an average, how many animals do you have, say, a month or a year?
Housed at the shelter, I could, maybe in the winter months, probably about 120. In the summer months, we have maybe 180. And that also depends on,
On any given day.
yes, sir.
In the summer, on any given day, you have $180.
On our busiest days, yes, sir.
And in the winter, on any given day, you have about 120.
Yes, sir. Dogs and cats. And we're required to report that to the health department during our inspection also, with our number of cages and everything.
So is this shelter classified as a kill shelter?
Yes, sir.
High kill shelter or low kill shelter?
I don't know that. I don't know what the definition or what would...
So when do you decide as a director that a dog is to be euthanized?
I decide either on intake from the information we've gotten from the owner, and that's the only time I can euthanize on intake if it is brought in by its owner. I could decide when the 73 hours is up. I can decide if the animal is contagious to the other animals, exposure to the 5 high-risk rabies animals, as in a skunk, a fox, a bat, a coon, and a coyote. And we also, if we get, if our kennels are full and we know that an animal has not been looked at by other people, and we have an animal come in our front door, and we might have to make room for that animal come in the front door to give it a chance to being adopted, then we have to make the decision at that time.
So do you work with any other agencies that maybe would come down and look at the dogs that you have before you euthanize them? Because the way I see it is every other month we're in the 100. Is that what those numbers represent?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So every other month we're euthanizing 100 to 150 dogs
Yes, sir.
on average.
That's dogs and cats. Yes, sir.
Doesn't matter an animal.
Yeah.
And those dogs that are being euthanized, are we giving them medication? I mean, could they be been with you for a month or two and you giving them medication? And taking care of them and feeding them and all that, and then all of a sudden we're gonna euthanize them?
Yes.
And do you work with any other agencies from up north, out of state?
We don't work with anybody from up north. I do work with rescue groups. I do not work with all breed rescue groups. In my opinion, not all rescue groups are a place for an animal to go to. Most of the hoarding situations that I've dealt with through my career have been with all breed rescue group. I have relationships with different pure breed rescue groups that I could reach out to. They're relying on foster homes to put these animals in. They don't have an actual structured shelter to put them in. And it depends on a lot of the personality and the behavior of the dog if they would take it or not.
The reason why I asked the question is because I have a text message right here that the one in 7 Point does do that up north, and they have a lot of dogs or I won't say dogs, a lot of animals that they're needing up north because they don't have that much, and they're sending once a month. Those people are coming down here and gathering up dogs and taking them back up north.
I'm aware of Love on Wheels that the shelter over there has been using. When I was working for the other shelter, the Humane Society, we would use Pets LLC with a group of ladies out of the Tyler shelter. And one of the things that they would like for that to happen is for the dog to be out of the shelter for at least 2 weeks and to be fully vetted before we could put it on the transport to go up.
Well, these
north.
people up there are coming from, I believe, Minnesota. Are you familiar with?
No, sir, I'm not.
Well, we need to be in I just have a hard time killing 125 dogs and cats. And-
Well, I do too, because I'm one of the persons that does that.
And I understand that. I'm just saying, I just have a hard time being and I don't know if that's the way it had been prior to the county taking it over.
Yes, sir. Nothing has changed in my 19 years being with the shelter.
One thing you have to remember, that given the fact that operates the shelter, the shelter doesn't have the luxury of being full. Or some non-governmental aligned facilities have that option, that we're not taking any more. With our ordinance that is in place and all that, the shelter that we inherited doesn't have that luxury of saying we're full. There always has to be room.
We take a large amount of feral cats in and a large amount of larger dogs that the owners and animal control are bringing in because they've bitten or they become aggressive.
Well, I'm all about
Yeah. Yes, sir.
that part.
Yes, sir.
But anyway, that's just my gut feeling. I have another deal that we work with the Humane Society of trying to help them with dog food or whatever.
Yes, sir.
Through a little girl's birthday that's going on right now, that we're able to raise $13,000 worth, or 13,000 pounds worth of food. So
That's wonderful.
I don't know what the difference is. I know what the difference is between us because we're county. It's a county shelter and not a volunteer shelter. But I just think we need to promote it more. We need more volunteers, more help
Yes, sir.
somehow. I'll step down.
Well, in the numbers that we have here, you brought us monthly comes in, and just looking back and with our patrolman here, it fluctuates up and down. But I see the high in January of 18 was 80 animals brought in by the Sheriff's Department in 18. More recently, just flipping through August of 18, 54 animals.
And I believe that the reason why the numbers are low during that time is that people thought that the shelter had actually closed down. And that's why those numbers are low in January and February.
Excuse me, these numbers are what I'm referring to seemed quite extensive that the patrolmen were bringing in under our ordinance are the ones that I was calling out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Yes,
yes. You know, I'm looking at the zip codes on the areas where you have public surrender or public bringing in animals.
Yes, sir.
And it really breaks down in that month. You know, doesn't give a total numbers in.
The total number that was brought in by animal control and through the public is at the top.
Top right-hand corner?
Yes, sir.
So March of 19 is the one I'm looking at. 231 animals. I guess so.
Yes, sir.
That's animal control, that's other cities and the public.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
And I think as the shelter goes on throughout the years, that number will get higher. I've had record months of 500 and 600 in 1 month during the summer months.
I would think May and June would be, big months. I see 286 in May. I mean, that's when all the puppies and kittens were born in May.
Yes,
And
sir.
they're all nice and cute. And then in May and June, when they're 6, 7, 8 weeks old, they're not near as nice and cute as they were, and they're eating about 40-pound bag of feed every 2 days.
We also see an
They
increase.
start dumping them out at the dock. And,
Well, also,
I appreciate what you do out there, and I know
Thank you.
somebody who loves animals, like yourself, to have to euthanize 140 of them a month, it's got to be devastating. But the problem, we want to lay off on the government or on the shelters. The problem is not the government or the shelters. The problem is folks won't get them spayed and neutered.
Exactly.
I read in the paper every day, you get one spay, free spay and neuter. And I mean, we can't even get them to do that. So we got, we haven't killed 150 animals a month.
And then I see the same
And then they won't
people.
blame us for it, and it's not our fault. Somebody
Exactly.
dumped them out there on the road. Somebody put them at the pier down there by Rippy's. I mean, I don't know where to start. I mean, that's always been my position is education.
You're doing good so far. Just keep it up.
But, I mean, I don't know.
I understand.
I drove a school bus for years in areas where, kids were getting on school buses and dogs running wild. And it's inexpensive. Nowadays, we've got so many free or low cost spay and neuters. I mean, I don't understand somebody can put 4 or 5 dogs in a sack and throw them out on the road. That's crazy to me.
Or they drop their couch off with a dog in the couch.
Yes.
We see that.
Somebody dumped one on Facebook the other day, and they was good enough to put the dog house in a little sack of feed out there
That's
beside it.
fine.
I mean, that was on Facebook.
And Commissioner
Wow.
McCam, we see the same people year after year bringing litters in.
yeah, and that's probably, my deal is looking at January or December, it's 91. You get to May, that Christmas doggy or Christmas puppy in May gets to start, like he says, becomes a hassle. So I want to,
I'm sure them folks in Minnesota are fighting the same problem. I'm sure the county, if they've got a dog kennel, they're saying, I wish they wouldn't be sending in dogs up here from Texas. Because we're picking up hundreds of them every time you turn around.
well, they're coming down here to get those dogs to take up there because they have a shortage.
I don't know how anybody have a shortage of
I'm
dogs.
just telling you, I want to say that they sent 85 dogs the other day.
Because we don't have a shortage down here. I wish they'd send 2 or 3 buses down here to get some.
So let me, after you said all that,
And
let me,
we'll haul them up there with some tires.
I'm sorry, but I know it's not your fault.
I understand.
and that's what I want to reiterate. I'm gonna get back up on it again and say, I appreciate everything that you do
thank
and that
you.
your people do. I wasn't griping at you or
I understand. Yes,
that. It's just that I have the heart like he does. Do I wish that I would have thought about that $100 full-blooded lab that's 2 years old now, that I have a cattle electrical fence around my house, that I'd have got him? No. Or yeah, I wish I wouldn't have got him, but I love him to death.
Right.
So I appreciate the things that you do and your people do and
Thank you.
what y'all try to do. Could I sit over there and give a shot to a dog and watch him stop breathing? No. So I commend you for that, and I would just keep up the good work.
Well, thank you.
I would like to ask one question of our animal control officers. What are y'all seeing? Same thing we're talking about here?
Yes, sir. It's all over. It's a problem all over the county. That's why when I first took office, I added a third, did some moving around and added a third animal control officer, and 3's not enough. 3's what we deal with, and 3's what we, combat the issue with, but it's a countywide problem.
How many calls do y'all get? It's kind of an average. I know, it's crazy.
I would say these 3 deputies, or John's,
Right.
these
Right.
3 deputies are probably the busiest deputies that I have when they're at work.
Right.
I mean, because
The call's just continuous.
Yeah, they come into work and they're catching calls that came in last night. If it's, the patrol deputies will go out on an aggressive dog or a problem when they're not here. I've got one of them on call 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Right.
If they're needed. But, they're trying to catch up on calls from that night. They're trying to catch the new calls. And then they also got to do follow-ups on the cases that they catch every day. On the quarantines and making sure if it's a house quarantine, making sure people are abiding by law. And, they're nonstop from the time they walk in office to the time they go home.
And you're getting calls from neighbors,
Yes, they've also got to do cows,
Right.
strays, any type of.
animals that are loose. And the calls from neighbors that are complaining about their neighbors' dogs and across the street.
And if I
So,
get a complaint at the sheriff's office, and somebody's really complaining about what's going on at the sheriff's office, it usually has to do something with.
an animal.
And that's not, if I might add, we get a lot of calls also and try to keep them from ever calling y'all. So it's just
Exactly.
overwhelming.
Like I said a while ago, I don't know how to fix it. I don't want the government telling me, and I'm part of the government, I don't want the government telling me what I have to do with my dog or my cat. But I think it starts with education. Everything does. I think we need to start in kindergarten. And I would be for a line item in this budget that said education. And I wouldn't disagree with the amount of money we put in it. To go to every school in Henderson County, have somebody go and
Yes.
just educate these kids once or twice a year, not just one time and then the kids forget about it. I'm talking about, that'd be something they would do. That was their job, is to go around and educate the public about spaying and neutering.
Yes, sir, I agree.
And I think in the long run, it would be way cheaper than us having the house $250 a month.
Well, the thing that I've seen in all of my years on the court, we've gone from spending $0 on animal control. When you take in the sheriff's office, we're at $500,000. Think about that. By the time you do the sheriff's, by the time you do the shelter and the salaries and what it takes on that end, that's what the county spends on animal control.
I wish that I could answer the question to what could make this stop. I will tell you that the city of Malakoff has come a long ways in the amount of animals they bring into us. And I think that one of the main reasons there is because they require registration. But then, I mean, you're talking about I would think a lot of money at the very beginning just to get everybody to register their animals. And that's me looking at different,
Well,
different
I'm not a big
cities.
fan of registration,
No.
but I am
Yeah.
a big fan of educating.
I agree.
I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm a fan of registering my animals, but I think we start with education.
Education, yes, sir.
Do we pay you overtime?
I'm sorry?
Do we pay you overtime?
No, not all the time.
How many hours a week do you work?
I pretty much work whenever I'm needed, just because I want the shelter to survive, to thrive.
Well, there's this, we've got her working all these hours, we've got all these full-time people that are maxed out, we've got 4 people taking care of 40 animals each. I mean, that's basically what it averages every day. I don't like taking care of the 2 rabbits, 3 dogs, and a cat I have to take care of every night I have help. I'm just wondering if we don't need to just put another full-time position in there, because now, you know, I'm the last one that wants to spend money.
What are the hours right now?
7:30 to 3:30.
That's your hours?
And that's a
Debbie?
working lunch also.
I mean, that's what you should be working.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Gill?
I've been relatively quiet. I don't want you to shut it down at
We've got we don't have to eat
at
after this.
1,500 hours and telling me I'm out of time. So, good night.
Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. Just bear with me. You can relax at the podium over there. I have some questions for the judge. When we get down under the lower portion of the budget, it has electricity, $7,200. And Anne Marie, don't leave yet, please. Oh, okay. Sorry. Natural gas, $7,200, I think. $3,500. I thought the city was doing something as far as electricity and gas was concerned. Or was it just, we got
My understanding is that they were just doing the water
they were just giving us the water?
and the mowing.
And the property,
Yes.
property
The
itself.
property, the mowing, and the water.
So they didn't, before we took it over, were they not paying for the electricity and the gas?
There's a lot of things gone through my mind since then.
We can find that out.
No, they were not, sir.
They were not?
No.
I'd like to find it out for sure.
Yeah.
Have you analyzed your numbers? You made you're on now. You said that because of some issues, lawsuit I think you mentioned, the amount of animals being brought to the shelter fell off. Well, I've gone through your numbers and it fell off a little bit, but your highest number is 286 and that is in last month. So it looks to me like you've recovered. If there was a drop-off, it's back, because that's, if it's the big number at the top right of the page,
Yes, sir.
that is your biggest number. Now, gentlemen, I asked you to quickly go through these pages and look at 2 numbers on each page. 2 numbers. And in January of 2018, at the top, it says the city of Athens brought in 43 animals. And then that you've had to drop down to area code 75751, which is basically Athens. Because 75752 is outside of the loop. So you really have to look at 26 and 43, add those together, and that is the contribution to the animal shelter on a monthly basis from the city of Athens, picked up by the animal control officer and people bringing them to the shelter from inside of the loop. then compare it to what the sheriff's department picked up, in that case is 27, 26, and 27. My goodness, the number is almost as high for the city of Athens and those inside of that area code. Now, flip on through them quickly and look at those numbers on page after page after page, and you will see that the city of Athens in 75751 is contributing more than the county. We have a cancellation clause, I believe, in that contract, or we can at least go back and renegotiate. And gentlemen, this contract needs to be renegotiated, or we have to get some other concessions. In the month of May, City of Athens, 30, 75751, 46. 76 animals brought to the shelter by Athens. The county picked up 42. And I'm grateful that they're mowing the grass. I'm grateful that they're supplying the water to which they pay $48,000 a year for all they can pump, and they're charging us $18,000 a month to keep the sheriff's department with running water. Thank gosh, our animals get free water. What a concession. Gentlemen, if you think I'm a little bit out of line on the numbers here of where the animals are coming from, please tell me. But if these numbers are right, we don't have much of a partnership in the agreement that we signed. Because that's, I guess he brings more, the animal control officer in Athens, you know, he doesn't have too far to drive. He can pick up 5 or 6 an hour and drop them off.
Sheriff, do they just have one animal control officer in the city of Athens?
Yeah.
Has the city of Athens given us any money allowance?
No,
No money.
it's all in kind. They own
The land.
The land.
What?
Not from that.
You looking?
I thought there was some money.
Let's see.
It's just concerning, Judge. I mean, it was great that the city of Chandler, Malakoff, Berryville, Brownsboro, and Gumbo City signed agreements with us.
But Commissioner, I thought when I was here when all that was happening, that the city of Gun Barrel chose 7 points.
They chose 7 points.
Well,
They may have brought them
in
over.
February, they were on the sheet, but you're correct.
City of
They,
Athens, 65,000.
Yeah, it's been zero since then.
It may have been June or July when that contract, when y'all were sending out those contracts during budget time.
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that's what it
And I
was.
think Gun Barrel didn't,
And they went the other direction.
because it was either cheaper or free.
Yeah, yeah, you're correct. As of May of 2018, they're off the sheet.
Actually,
What did you
it
say?
And who was it over in your precinct that didn't want to participate because they can drop them off for like $1.50 or something silly
Yeah, it
like
was Coffee,
that?
it was Coffee City.
Coffee City, yeah.
Yeah,
actually, Cedar Creek's was higher. And Gun Barrel still chose to go with them on their
because it was
contract.
closer, I think.
Yeah.
Was there any other contributions from the city?
They're supposed to do 65,000 a year.
Have they done something?
They've done 1650 for this year, so
What do they do
I'm
like-
gonna re-invoice them because.
So they're doing it quarterly? 16.5 every quarter?
Right.
Okay.
Did they pay last year?
Yes.
So there's 65,000.
I thought there was some money.
Okay.
Well, my point still is valid when you look at the numbers. Proportionally, if you do it on a quarter-by-quarter basis by animal count, percentage is higher than anything. Anyone else? Let's see if there's anything else. This $9,000 for heating and cooling,
Yes,
that's, Judge, you know about that? Is that new air conditioners or something?
Yes, sir, there was provisions made and because of the age of some of the equipment in there, when we budgeted this last time, we put that in there. Maintenance has been able to bring one system back to life and operational, and it's been pretty steady. I haven't had any issues with it. But again, the actual air equipment is old and due to drop.
So we probably won't spend the $9,000 that we budgeted this year, but it will have to be budgeted next year.
Very possibly.
Because we're back into that baling wire and duct tape.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's see.
How much does it cost for you to house an animal until it's euthanized, let's just say, or adopted,
well, that depends on each and every individual animal.
on an average?
Where else?
Excuse me one moment, I'm gonna give you that number.
Judge, what did we used to donate to the Humane Society? What was it?
60.
50 or 60?
62 or something.
Yeah.
It was in the $60,000 range.
What I remember.
And basically, the city of Athens, I want to say they were in the 48,000 range, because they never came up and matched our amount.
Right.
Matter of fact, when we went ahead, when the Humane Society was in trouble, we bumped it up to 60-something, and they wouldn't come up and match us.
Commissioner, for an adult dog, it's cheaper for us to house an adult dog because we're only having to give it one vaccination, assuming it has only already had other vaccinations. So that is roughly $40, and that's including the food and keeping it for at least 14 days. And I'll explain that to you if you'd like.
No, that's fine.
And then a puppy, it goes up to closer to 50 because we're worming them more and we are giving them more than one vaccination. And then to house a cat is much less expensive. It's more, the lines are probably about,
So taking a dog is $40, adult dog is $40.
yes,
And then does that includes the food for it?
yes, sir. If we
how
keep
long?
it for at least about 2 to, I would think, about 3 weeks, that's with the food that's been donated.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. And then a puppy's about 50. And then a cat or a kitten, because they require less. And of course, that's before we get anything done to them to go just to house only. A cat's probably about 25.
I just was looking because we took in 347 dogs and it was about $187 an animal that.
It's, that's not better for me.
Josh, I know I asked this a long time ago and you gave me an answer and I forget. We don't have internet out there. We do? Is it Suddenlink or? Well, she's got, do we not have a voice over IP phone out there? So she wouldn't need the $1,500 for telephone in there? Lynn?
I suspect that cell phones, if we properly account for their
Oh,
Yeah, I've looked that up, and actually that number needs to go up a little bit. It's gonna be 1677
For- that's for cell phones?
We have one cell phone,
Yeah, we'll probably do assess the internet over to them, who would calculate the actual expenses that it costs us to run that.
Okay. So, is IT picking up the internet?
No,
Or-
because we're trying to capture all their expenses.
All their
related to their-
expenses,
yeah,
okay.
to be allocated.
Okay.
Normally activity comes up.
Yeah, that's what I thought, I thought we'd addressed this before. That's why I thought it was high, so, okay. That makes sense, if that's what you're trying to do. It's back to you.
No, I just did the city of Athens,
Oh,
but, I mean,
Yeah.
that breaks it down even more.
I just did a quick average on what it costs us by these numbers here that you presented us.
Yes, sir.
How many we brought in, wherever they came from. 2,407 animals. We had an expense of $284,000. Comes to $118 an animal. That was for 18.
No, mine-
That's all animals. That's Athens. That's everybody. So, 118.16. Any other discussion?
Maybe I'll get my buddy here for education.
Gentlemen. Amy, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
We'll be continuing discussions. Anything's worked out. We do have several large items that we're going to have to address with this, several large items. So, and we know that this is in the infancy, I guess, or I guess the shelter's a toddler now as far as a government organization, so.
Bear in mind, it functions under dog years.
I would like to say thank you for being patient with me. This is a learning experience for me. We're going from nonprofit to a government shelter. I appreciate all of y'all. I appreciate the animal control officers and Bodie. Last year I asked for an additional person and he stepped up and said he'd bring trustees out there. We're now getting female trustees and their workhorses out there. So, thank you.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you. I think it's a learning experience for all of us.
Yeah, I think so. We're all learning, Amy.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing the judge at 1:30 and not 9 o'clock.
Oh, no, we talked about other things at 9 o'clock. That concludes our list of departments. We will not be meeting tomorrow. We'll come back Friday, finish up those that are on the list and maybe return to some of the revenue discussion. But it's been a learning experience, not only about shelters, but just about revenues, so forth, and what the state of Texas has done to us. So appreciate your time, your effort, and
I calculated the collection rate on the 2011 budget through the 2018 budget. I threw out the high and low years, and that came to 94.13% collection rate. And then I did the whole 8 years, including high and low, and that came out to 94.36. So it's around about 94% collection rate. We use 95 bucks.
right.
That was it.
Did we use 95 last year?
We did.
Okay.
We did. Anything else? Because after that, I'm ready to quit for today. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
We got two so moving, who's seconding?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Thomas, second by Commissioner Tooley to adjourn. All those in favor? Thank you.